the saga continues, but I think got cleaned up quite a bit here, and I do respect that with Brian Cashman readdressing his thoughts on Giancarlo Stanton. So, and I'll give credit here. He said, "quote I value Giancarlo Stanton as a player. Without a doubt, he's one of the big drivers when we do win. He's one of the few players you bring to New York that hasn't backed down, that has handled himself in a professional manner through thick and thin. He's one of the few players that." When the money's on the line, if you look at his postseason numbers, it's pretty impressive. He's a gifted, talented player. He's a feared hitter. We'd love to be able to deploy him at all times. And behind the scenes, I think they were also trying to find out. I don't know if there was a quote on it, but if it would affect the Yamamoto situation because he has the same agent, and Joel Wolf, who's the rep for both of them, is not going to come out firing. Was pretty pointed in his comments that he doesn't appreciate the GM of a current player like that. Saying, forget it, you can't stay on the field. Even though it is real talk, plenty of people can say it. It's just weird coming from a front office person. I like real talk, so you get a little bit conflicted with all of this, but at the same time, I mean, you work for the team. Like that's taking it too far. So it sounded like he kind of just made up for it without an apology that I've seen officially, but maybe that's not what happens here. I don't know, Kratz. I think the one other thing that could have been added is, hey, my bad. If my words were misconstrued there, that's on me. Or hey, I shouldn't have said that. No?
Or hey, I stand by what I said, but I still think he's a good player. Or I'm not saying that's what he should.
But if you say it,
I'm just saying.
We can say that. Most people can say that.
He's like, listen, it might have been taken out of context. He's been injured for sure. But yes, this is what I still believe in him. Something like that. If that's where he was trying to go. There's no apology. It's just he's talking how good he is now. So it's what is going on here, bro?
He might have been ... but he's only playing 60 games next year.
It's crazy. Hey,
Kratz?
Either way, what are you going to do?
I don't think he has to put any apologies out there. He's got G's number. He can talk to G. He doesn't need to tell Brian Hoke, hey, make sure, I apologize to Giancarlo Stanton and all the words I said. No, he's got his number. Apologies are for man to man, not man to media to man. So I think what he said, he hasn't, tell me if he's lied. Anything that he said, tell me if he has lied in the whole Giancarlo Stanton thing.
No, of course not.
Nothing. And that's what we want. We want honesty. What if all GMs talked like this?
It would be kind of wild. I'll tell you, actually, you want to know the answer? We'd bring them on the show. Because we'll bring some on in the wintertime, but I've talked about this. Most of them are programmed as bots now, too, and they don't really say anything about anything. So I get what you're saying.
So
that's why I'm conflicted. No, it is what we want, but
you hurt Giancarlo's feelings? G knows that.
He's not hurt.
He's not hurt. Yeah, I mean, he probably isn't like, oh, cool, thanks for putting my biz out there. You don't have to put my business out there, but I don't when people talk about getting booed at a stadium, I don't know of anybody that's ever gotten booed and was like, man, I actually did really good in that situation. Maybe overall you feel like, you shouldn't be booed because of what you've done, Judgy hitting 62 dingers, and then in the playoffs they booed him. He wouldn't have sat there and been like, guys, I did so good in the playoffs. Why are these guys booing me? He knew he didn't do well. Now he could say overall he didn't, he did not deserve to be booed, but that's the same thing with G there. He's not sitting there going, hey man, I'm just going to get hurt. So that's my life. No, he's not saying that, but he knows he's been hurt, and I'm sure he's working at it.
Also,
try to figure out whatever he can do if there's something he can do.
Yeah, and Kratz, there are some GMs who have talked about players not being able to stay on the field. Hey, we got to get this guy on the field more consistently, whatever. I think clearly either G or his rep were pissed about it because you got a statement back from them, which you usually wouldn't get. Mm-hmm. I think the part that probably rubbed them the wrong way was we know he's going to get hurt, for this coming season. You're projecting versus going in the past. So maybe because I was trying to think of how to phrase it correctly. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing. Someone else can say that, but if you're the the dude who's running the team, and you're already saying the guy's going to get hurt next year, even if, there's a percentage chance that there's a pretty high percentage chance that you're right based on the injury history. I actually have heard front office people in the past say, hey, we got to just figure out a way to keep him on the field because when we
the simple answer.
We got it.
That's the
but
simple
that
answer.
It was the way it was said, which I still think might have been just coming off a tough week for him in terms of how he was addressing a lot of topics. But he's going to get hurt next year. Like, I don't know. Kratz, you're a real talker. Is that how? If we were getting you as a front office dude, if you were running any team, and we asked you about a player that's hurt all the time, would you? I know you wouldn't phrase it that way. You might phrase it the way I just said, wouldn't you? Hey, this dude's been hurt a lot. It sucks because we want him on the field. So let's figure that out. Not, well, we know he's going to be hurt.
Adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, hinting around what people are saying, you got to know the person too. Like, you can't just come. Like, I think that's something that's funny. A lot of people in media don't know Giancarlo Stanton. They don't really know Cashman and how they talk. And so I think you saw a candid moment from Cashman. No, I would not have said it the way he did, but he was being real. And I think if G was like standing there when he said that, he would have been like, what? Like, these are two men that can talk about this. ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo se dice? And they can talk about it. So, no, I probably wouldn't have. But I would definitely, because of what we're doing here on this show, I encourage guys to be okay with being real when they talk, because it's okay to ask for forgiveness in this situation. He wasn't questioning his work ethic. He wasn't questioning. He was stating it probably a little bit too coarsely. He wasn't stating anything that was a lie about G. He just, he could have minced his words a little bit better. But then it gets to the whole point of what you said, Scott. Like, sometimes these guys get up there and they're like, well, we just want to make sure that everybody stays on the field and we try our best.
You're right. You're spot on there. No, I want more real. I want, Perry Manasian, the GM of the Angels, telling me about how he really feels about Anthony Rendon right now. I want some of that, some of that heat on what's going on. Yeah, the transparency actually would help on some fronts, especially when the situations are murky. So I'm with you.
I want to drop a little bit of Ken Rosenthal conspiracy that I wrote down. He said Ohtani possibly to the Blue Jays. Do you think that could be like a ploy for the younger guys, maybe contract extensions? Like, hey, if you guys don't sign these extensions we have out to you, Bichette, Vladdy, we're going to go ahead and spend that money on Ohtani, and then you have no contract extension. Maybe? Conspiracy theory?
Maybe.
Well, we know he's not going to the Blue
I feel
Jays
like
now.
They've got enough swag that they're like, okay, I'm good. And also, how about this? Maybe conspiracy theory back at you. Maybe one or both of them don't want to be there anymore. There's a chance that that's the case. No? I don't know enough about the situation, but I feel like Bo's got a lot of swag. He's going to be a good player in the league for a while. I feel like you come back at him, I'd be like, okay, you don't like me that much, and I don't like the offer you're giving me? Go ahead. Go sign Ohtani. I also think, even from the player and the rep perspective for those two guys, for example, Kratz, still think it's a pretty lofty shot that the Blue Jays are going to outspend most people. They just haven't operated like that. They operate nicely, but they don't operate at the top.